Hi, supporters. I just want to welcome you to this episode that I have with Natasha Weston. She is the social media manager for Finder Keeper. She is an internet personality. She's a talk show host. She has her own podcast. She has her own social media company, and she is just as humble and down to earth as they come. She drops a lot of jewels on this episode that I think could apply across the board in business if you have one, or just life in general. And so just want to welcome you to the episode. Leave us comments and feedback, and let's get into it. Just want to welcome you, supporters, to the Finder Keeper Presents If the Shoe Fits podcast. Today we have an amazing guest, Natasha Toddy Weston.
Hi.
And I just want to know, like, what do you do to keep yourself grounded? Tell us a bit about yourself, your upbringing, the things you do to stay grounded and focused.
That's a deep question. We're starting off hard already.
Yeah, we're going in.
Though the one thing that stuck out, you asked me how I stay grounded.
Yeah.
I am very focused on my walk with God, especially right now after COVID. I do a daily devotional. So I start my mornings off with prayer. And even if it's just a, hey, Lord, what's up?
Yes.
Please just, you do your thing today.
Right.
Like, it's very simple.
Yep.
I do a devotional that my mom bought me. So a
Nice.
scripture and just, you know what a devotional looks like.
Yep.
And then I never start my day without listening to my praise and worship playlist.
Love that.
I will not start my day off with anything else. It just like puts me in a good spirit, good headspace, keeps me grounded. Another thing that keeps me grounded outside of like my day to day are my boundaries. So we talk a lot about this
Yes.
offline. So I'm very particular in who I let around me, and whether that's in my house, who I hang out with, what conversations I'm having. They need to be meaningful at this point in my life.
Absolutely.
Because the conversations are really what drive not just me, but my business. So
Right.
I create a lot of my content based on conversations I'm having, and those conversations can only happen if I'm around people who are doing something, who are motivated, and who have a bigger purpose for life. So
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like at this point in my life, I just want to have meaningful relationships, whether it's personal, professional, both.
Yeah.
Like people that can add value for me and I can add value for them. And people that speak life into your vision and your dreams.
That's important.
So it's like, if people are not doing that, I'm not there.
Yeah, it's like, how they say no new friends. I'm willing to leave those ones
Absolutely.
and welcome some new ones
Say
if that's
goodbye.
the case. Yep.
Yeah. So could you talk to us a little bit about your professional journey? Like, what do you do for a living? And just kind of walk us through your journey.
Yeah, sure. So I've been an entrepreneur for 12 years now, collectively. I have worked 9 to 5s alongside of that throughout the years, but I started in public relations. So when I dropped out of college many, many, many years ago, I was going for nursing, and I realized when I got the clinicals, girl.
You want about that life? You're like,
Yeah, no.
You're like, this is
you
not
don't
me.
want me to be responsible for your health or none of that stuff, I promise.
Right.
So I dropped out of college and I moved home with my mom, and I tapped into my original love for fashion. So when I was in high school, I really wanted to be a fashion designer.
Wow.
But because nobody I knew that looked like me was doing that, I was like, I better go for like business admin or, the normal stuff that people go to school for.
Right.
And so I did a year of college right in Charleston, which is where I'm from. And I ended up dropping out of there and just working a 9 to 5, because at that time my family was splitting. My mom and my dad were splitting, and we were losing our home in foreclosure.
Wow.
And so I just kind of felt like I needed to get a job and like try to help out a little bit. And school just wasn't a priority. And so once that got settled and situated, I decided to go back, and that's when I went for nursing. And I did that for a couple of years, and that's when I realized I didn't want to be a nurse. Fast forward, moving with my mom, trying to figure out life. Like, I literally don't know what I want to do. And people that I graduated with, they were having kids now, getting married, and here I am still trying to figure out what my career is going to be.
Right.
And so I had cousins who would always ask me to put outfits together and stuff like that for them. So I was like, is this a thing? Like, do people get paid to do this? And I found a book on Amazon. And it was a really short book, but it was about the fashion styling business and how you could literally make money from it. And so fast forward, I got an internship with BET.
Wow.
And I worked for 106 and Park when Terrence and Roxy were on
That
in
is
the wardrobe
awesome.
department. Yeah.
That is so awesome.
And of course, that opportunity and just living in New York exposed me to so many people and networking opportunities. And I ended up connecting with a fashion stylist who was from Charleston, who was styling K. Michelle. Like, remember when she had the blue hair?
Yeah.
Back then.
Like, look at that.
So
full
I was
circle.
trying on her clothes before it was shipped to her and stuff. Like,
that's
so I was able to like build a lot of strong relationships. And I would say that's the foundation of like how I got into business. Because I started making friends who were in the fashion industry who needed help with public relations. And I didn't even know that was a thing. I just knew I knew how to reach out to brands and reach out to people and get my friends' clothes in their customers or clients' hands. So like, for example, I worked with Dean Zine once, and they're a really well-known fashion brand out of LA. And Angela Dean, who's the designer, she had just made these new line of jersey dresses for women. This is when Wendy Williams first got back on air for her show.
Wow.
And I was able to reach out to Wendy's stylist and say, hey, I don't know if you're going to even see this message, but we've got some dresses. We love to send Wendy some. Long story short, those dresses became Wendy's favorite dresses for the season, and she wore them all the time.
That's so awesome. So just by you, like, betting on yourself and not even, you didn't know exactly where things were going to go, but you trusted your instincts, like, was so powerful.
Yeah, I didn't know where it was going to go. And so that laid the foundation for me business-wise. And so I started seeing how I could exchange my talents for money. And so I started my first business from my aunt's couch in the Bronx.
Wow.
And I was making graphics for people and like pitching them to brands and just kind of being a middleman for like my indie designer friends and stuff. And so long story short, moved back down south after living in New York for almost 2 years. And I got a job at a bank. And I think I told you I started in banking. That was like my first real job.
Why are you saying bad words? Banking.
You know, I have to agree with you on that. I don't think I'll go back to banking. I've had my share. But I worked in banking as a temp in the mortgage department. And a lot of my colleagues were older women who had never really tapped into what they were passionate about. Yeah. They were those women that would stay on a job for like 25, 50 years and get a plat and barely be able to retire. Right. And they were watching me run my business on the side and come to work every day. And they were like, how do you do this? Can you teach me how to do this? And so I wrote my first book, 7 months pregnant with my son. Wow. Because the job was going to end. I couldn't go back. Like the department was closing and I was like, I need some type of extra income or something. And so I had turned some old blog posts into a book. It was like 62 pages and the book did really well. I was hustling to get that book out. I go to temp agencies and put flyers on cars and all that stuff. And so I've always had a knack for business. And fast forward over the years, I've pretty much turned like all of my turning points in life into content and living my life and making money from it. And so once I figured out like how to be my own brand and how to sell my story, whether it be in the form of products or services, I now teach other people how to do the same thing. So I know I like always tell you behind the scenes, like, just pull the camera out, just record something.
I cannot believe that we're even sitting here. So that's like, you know, we appreciate you like coaching us, being patient with us, Brandon and I. So
so that's primarily what I do. I'm my own brand and people learn from that. So I wrote Brand You Like a Boss back in 2017. And that book just pretty much is my life and how I have literally built my network, my image, and how I've been able to monetize it and continue to build on it as I grow and as I transition through life. So personal branding and content, those are like those are my babies.
Yeah. And you are amazing at it.
Thank you.
And so in the spirit of If the Shoe Fits, we have different segments that play upon walking, you know, in your purpose. So could you talk to us about walking in purpose? What does that mean to you?
Walking in purpose, I'm rediscovering what purpose means the older I get. Because when you hear purpose, you think it's something that you find and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But purpose is something that evolves as you evolve.
Yeah.
And your purpose does change. So when I first started in entrepreneurship, you know, I thought my purpose was just to motivate people.
Mm-hmm.
And as I grew and as life happened to me and slapped me around a lot, I realized
Yes.
it's a lot deeper than just motivating people. Like, motivation is temporary.
Absolutely.
It's not something that's going to get you up out of the bed every day. I don't care how good it sounds, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so now for me, purpose is being okay with living life, letting life happen to you, but taking those lessons and using them is not just to motivate people, but also to monetize. I think a lot of times we see purpose as just, it's kind of like this whole, and this is a little bit off subject, but it's relevant.
Yeah.
There's this pastor that's selling a course or something online,
Mm-hmm.
and people are in an uproar about it. And I think it goes back to purpose. Like, just because we're walking in purpose does not mean we're supposed to just
free 99. Yeah,
free
because you have to
99
earn a
and-
living, and you want to build wealth, and
Mhm.
you want to do things to set your son up in
For
life,
sure.
and just even for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with
Yeah.
monetizing it. And I think if morally you're in alignment and you're in the right place spiritually
Right.
with it, I don't think that's an
Absolutely.
issue.
Yeah, and I think God does want us to be smart about the gifts that he gives us.
Absolutely.
Because he gives us common sense, and a lot of people forget that. So for me, purpose is realizing that, yes, you have a mission. That mission will change over time, and you have to be open to whatever it is. And whatever lessons you learn, it's your job to put that back as a seed in the ground for not just you, but for other people as well. So for me, the biggest thing is remembering that purpose evolves as you evolve, and you just have to move with it and trust it.
Yeah. That's the thing that I'm working on right now.
Yes.
It's like, I know, like, I have these things inside of me, but it's just like trusting myself. And so that'll like take me into the next segment, which is playing footsie. And that's just me like giving you your flowers. Like, you really inspired me to
thank
be a better person. And I love that you're so fearless. Like, even if you don't have all the answers, you trust your internal compass and God to lead you there. And it's just so cool to see a young Black woman in her element, you know, up, and who's willing to pull people up too. So that
It's
I think
hard.
is amazing. You're an
Thank
amazing
you.
mom, businesswoman,
Thank you.
all the things.
Thank you. You make it sound like flowers for real. Because it is not. It's not easy. Like, sometimes I wish I could just live my life quietly and go through my stuff and not share and just be. You know, it's really hard because it requires a level of vulnerability and transparency that as humans
it's scary
it's a
sometimes.
tussle.
Yeah.
It's a tussle.
But so I can't remember which podcast it was, but they basically were saying that like our gifts are not really for us.
No.
So I think even if you might have apprehension about being vulnerable, you know that you're like changing someone else's life. So
Yeah.
you're like, okay, let me remove myself.
Yeah,
from
it's
it.
like, oh Lord, it's like dragging out the bed. Like, oh Lord, I don't want to do this today.
Yeah,
I don't even want
I
to
be
talk
like-
to people today.
I'm like that. Even with the podcast, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get in front of the camera. But then I'm like,
Yeah.
but then I thought about that quote I heard, like, your gifts are not for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you should share them with the world because it can help someone heal or help someone grow on their journey too.
Right.
So yeah.
And that's really our only responsibility
Mm-hmm.
on earth. It's like, it's not about you at the end. It's about you, but it's
Yeah,
not about you.
exactly.
Like, we
Exactly.
reap a lot of the benefits of it, but it's definitely about other people. Like, people need people,
Absolutely.
and that's a hard thing to like, because sometimes we just don't want to be bothered. We don't even want to be bothered.
Yeah, we don't want to be bothered. Yeah, sometimes I get
You know?
annoyed with myself,
Yeah.
but we don't want to be bothered. And then sometimes it might be like, I don't know if it's ego or just like, you don't want to seem like dumb to ask certain questions, but then it's like, well, I don't want to bother that person.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, we want to figure so much out on our own, but we can get there. Like, we can go further. Like, if we get the help and the
Yeah.
resources for people who've been there, done that.
Yep, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I agree that.
So yeah, it's taking the ego away. So could you, in the spirit of the shoe fitting, could you let us walk in your shoes? Tell us about your day to day, how you stay grounded. You know, what are your like rituals and routines? Almost.
So, I think I already shared my morning routine for the most part, and I'll say the biggest part of a day in my shoes is I give myself a lot more grace than I probably should. But now I realize that sometimes those to-do lists,
it ain't gonna happen.
It ain't gonna happen.
That's
exactly. The reality. So a lot of people start off with a to-do list. Yeah. I have like 3 or 4 things that I make my main goal for the week. And on whatever day I have the energy and the spirit and the creativity to do whatever those 3 to 4 things are, I do them.
So you're letting things flow organically instead of trying to force it where it doesn't fit.
Right.
I love that.
Because some days, honestly, I don't have the mental capacity to create. Some days I don't want to work with clients. Some days I just want to exist. I just want to live. And so when you find yourself saying on Monday, I got to do these things. On Tuesday, I got to do these things. On Wednesday, you put yourself in a box and you really can't operate in your most authentic space when you put those types of boundaries. Now that works for some people.
Either, right? Yes. Like it takes, I was that person that what you're talking about where it's like, this has to be done, like type A, this has to be done right now. And like you say, you can't operate.
Yeah, because then what happens is you could say, I got to get these done on Monday. And you sit there looking at the computer for 4 hours.
Yes.
When you could have been doing something completely different that made more sense for you in that moment. And so that also goes into creating freedom and boundaries because people know I don't want to have meetings on Monday. Don't even ask me to. I don't want to talk on the phone. I don't want to talk to anybody on Mondays. And it's no offense to you or because you did anything. It's just on Mondays, I don't like to rush into my week like everybody else. I like to inch into my week because I'm more productive. So it's a personal thing. It's an individual thing. But a day in my shoes, it fluctuates so much. It just really depends on what's on that list for the week and what are the priorities. And the truth is, a lot of those things don't get done in a week. But I give myself wiggle room to be able to say, okay, I didn't get it done this week. I'll put it on the schedule for next week.
I love that.
You know what I mean? And then when I do need to sit down and focus on something, I do not disturb.
It's your friend, right?
It is the best thing they ever invented. Yes. Like, sometimes I find myself putting it on there too much. But if I need to sit down and get something done, I will turn my phone on Do Not Disturb. And it does help because you don't get the social media notifications or anything for as long as you need to sit down and focus. So a day in my life is like that. And then the normal things, I take Tyler to school. I come back home. I do my praise and worship, my devotional. I say my prayers. And I try to wrap my day up every day by 3:00.
Nice.
I am not working till 5 if I don't have to.
Because you need rest. I think we forget that sometimes too. And we're actually more productive when we get the rest we need.
For sure. Like I am going to take the nap. You know what I mean? They got going around Little Miss. I'm Little Miss take a nap. I need a nap. I will take a nap because everybody will be happier if I get a nap, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm the queen of napping. Brandon knows.
Yeah. Like, don't even mess with me.
Yeah, don't mess with me. And it might be a 2-hour nap. I know that experts will say, like, you should only nap for 15 to 30. But I'm like, if I'm exhausted and my body is, like, craving that rest, I will do it. I used to burn myself down. Like, I mean, working 12 to 16 hours a day, not sleeping. Like maybe getting 3-4 hours of sleep, and I was just always in a haze. I feel like I was just like kind of like on autopilot. Floating. I didn't feel anything. I was like numb to life. So now I make it a point. I'm like, rest is top priority. I have to.
Yeah. It's important. It's because I think society also makes us think we always got to be doing something.
Yes.
Like
what they say, sleep is for the dead.
Yeah, you sleep
hustle
when you're
harder.
Dead. Hustle hard. Yeah. Like as long as you broke or you hadn't reached your goals, you shouldn't be napping. And I'm just like, well, how I'm gonna do these things if I'm tired?
Yeah, or they'll say, what's that saying been going around on online about the pandemic? Like, if you didn't build anything out the pandemic, you weren't hustling hard enough. But like, I'm like, I used to think like that, but now I realize, within the pandemic, it's more important to be present with yourself and like your loved ones. Because I feel like life was just passing me by. I was just getting that paycheck and not really paying attention to what I really needed,
It's like you working for the money, but you're not enjoying the money.
Yeah. It's like you're just existing. You're not really living life, or learning anything new. And I'm like, I want to learn some things that are new because I think, we go through different seasons. So I knew it was like a point of transition for me. Like I came to that realization during the pandemic.
Yeah. And everybody didn't get there, Lily, and they probably never will. They literally believe that they have to be doing something all the time. And like you said, I used to think the same way. Like it's always about hustling, hustling, hustling.
Yeah.
And while you're doing all of that, not giving your time space, yourself space, your mental health is suffering, your relationships suffer.
Absolutely.
And we need our mental and our relationships in order to even be good.
To be fruitful.
Yeah,
to pour into others.
Exactly.
If you don't have anything, I had got to the point, I really did not have it to give anymore. I'm like, I cannot get off this couch. I cannot get out of this bed.
Yeah.
I was just like, like I say, ran myself into the ground. And I'm like, I'm never doing that again. Because, even transitioning into entrepreneurship full time, there'll be some of my friends and family were like, well, we heard that entrepreneurs have to work even more than what you were working in your prior career. And I'm like, that's not going to be my story. Yeah, I'm going to set the flexibility that I need and be more intentional about being present with my husband and my mom and my friends. And, I'm like, that's just more important to me at this point in my life. So.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you there. I've had my share of the hustle life, and now I want my naps. Absolutely. I don't want to have to work 7 days a week if I don't want to.
No.
And that comes with experience, of course, because when I first started my business, it wasn't like that. I wanted as many clients as I could get, and I wanted to make all the money because I want to retire by a certain age. And it's like, you could still retire by a certain age and do all of those things and not work yourself to the ground. Like, you just don't. And so I think that's my prayer for especially every woman is to every Black woman especially is to realize that we don't have to have that mentality of having to work. The
workhorse, the strong Black woman. I'm like, I'm strong, but I'm also vulnerable. Like, I think, multiple things can be true. I'm like, I think that stigma has been placed on us. Like, well, you got to be strong. Like, even if you are just breaking down inside, you just keep working. And I'm like, no, I'm not subscribing to that programming anymore.
That's what it is. It's programming. We've been taught that, and we've seen that.
We have.
My mom and my grandma, and
same.
Even now, like, they still can't keep still, and I'm just like, girl,
relax. Yeah,
it's hard for them to relax. They don't know how to do it. So it's like we have to deprogram ourselves. And then try to go back and teach our moms.
My mom is about that life now. She was working like 3-4 jobs and running a business at one point and raising 5 kids. But now that she's here with us in our home, she is finally letting go.
She living a soft girl life now.
She living a soft girl life.
I love that for her.
She is. It took her a little bit, but now she's all in. She's spoiled. So
Mama, I love that for you. I want to be like her when I grow up.
Same.
Yeah.
I think, but I love it that I feel like at such a young age, you have more wisdom than people that are probably like twice your age.
Yeah.
So that I think is really awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Appreciate it. So what do you do for fun? Like we have the Footloose segment to continue on with the shoe fitting. So what things do you do for fun, like outside of working? What things make your heart like joyful?
I'm still discovering a lot of those things. Especially in this last year, I've been not working as hard intentionally. And some things have kind of forced me in that space. And so I'm like having to sit with myself a lot more. Like, okay, I'm not working today. Tyler's at school. I already finished my book. I don't have any new podcasts to listen to. What am I going to do? And so sometimes I'll get in the car and I'll just drive and I'll like go to the park and just like walk around.
I do that too.
And talk to strangers. Yeah. And I'm finding a love for cooking. Which, if you're listening or watching this, the old me cook what?
Oh, you weren't about that
life.
I
was not about that life. Like, cook what? And I always said, if I get married, my husband is going to have to know how to cook because I'm not going to be, I'm not going to do it. But now, it's so therapeutic. Like I'm on YouTube all day looking at
Finding new
recipes
things.
and trying new things. And I was also the person that never wanted to try new things. And now I'm like, ooh, I'm going to the store looking for this spice because this is going to do this.
Yes.
That's me now. So I'm finding things that I
Discovering.
love, discovering, but cooking for sure is something that I am obsessed with now. Like obsessed with. And then I recently stopped eating meat. It's like what, 18 days now, and it's hard, but I can see it also expanding my taste buds a little bit because I'm having to figure out like
getting more
50
creative,
ways
innovative.
to make salmon.
How are you feeling like when you cutting out the meat? Do you feel more mental clarity? Do you feel lighter spiritually? Like what have you noticed within yourself that's changing?
Definitely mental clarity. For sure. Like you never realize how much that stuff just clogs your brain. I was also finding myself like forgetting stuff a lot more. And my mom was like, you need to go to the doctor and get that checked because my sister could be talking about something that happened in like 8th grade and I'll be like, I remember that, but I don't like really.
That happens to
I
me.
don't
So
remember
maybe
the details.
It was it like brain fog type of.
Yeah, it was like my
Same.
brain wanted to remember, but I couldn't. I couldn't make out the details. But I knew it happened. And then another thing, I could be in the kitchen putting groceries up or putting something up, and like I'll put one thing down and then turn around and like it's like my memory was fog. I forget why I put things more frequently. And now I'm finding myself, I make more notes, but I remember things a lot more now.
You're more clear.
I'm more clear now. I don't drink as much alcohol anymore since I stopped eating meat. I don't know what that's about, but there's some type of association.
Maybe your
with
body's
it too.
like, I want to be, I'm cleaning, I'm purging.
Yep. Because when I drank, I would crave like certain meats so now I don't know. I don't drink as much alcohol anymore. I might have a glass of wine here and there, but other than that has cut out completely. And my sleep. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I used to suffer from chronic insomnia, like really bad for years. Like I could be so tired and my body would not shut down.
Was your mind just like thinking about
always
everything you have to do?
Work, personal, Tyler, just trying to figure things out in my head all the time, and I could never shut down.
That was me, like,
ever.
A year, 2, 3 years ago. Same, like I would just pop up at like 3 a.m. with just racing thoughts, like, and sometimes I would have like night sweats. I would be freaking out, like, oh my God, I forgot to do this. Too. I forgot to do this. It's just panic, and I'm like, I'm so glad that I let go of that. You know,
it's so sleep. I used to have to take sleep aids every night. Now, since I made this transition, the only time I take them at night is if I have like one of those headaches. And I think the headaches are coming from just my body trying to adjust to not eat meat. But mental clarity, I'm sleeping better.
That's awesome.
And I'm overall just a happier person. I mean, not to mention the weight loss. I don't need to lose anymore, but I know I will. But I just feel
lighter.
I feel better.
Good.
You know,
I'm
overall.
so happy for you.
Yeah. It's hard, and I don't know how long I'm going to stick to it, but I'm going to try. I'm going to make it through these 30 days.
So what are you eating? Like, what types of dishes? And, like, I'm sure it tastes amazing since you're experimenting.
Why, thank you.
Yeah.
I eat salmon, shrimp. I'm trying a lot more pasta dishes.
Nice.
And I feel like I need to incorporate more bread. So I've been trying to eat like a bagel for breakfast. If not a bagel, a grilled cheese sandwich, something. Because I feel like I get more headaches when I don't eat enough bread. I eat a lot of stir fries. So like squash, zucchini. I love sauteed mushrooms.
Really?
Oh my God. Like I could just eat it all the time. So like for breakfast, I'll do sauteed mushrooms and like eggs.
That sounds really good.
But yeah, it's like, you know,
I'm finding ways
because I'm like, I can't just eat salmon every day the same way.
That's what I was doing.
You know, Lord.
I was like, this air fryer is tired of salmon.
The air fryer is tired of us.
It is. That's all I do. Lately, that's all I've been doing. Because it's like convenient. And to me, I like it more than like just baking, you know?
Yeah, and it's easier to clean up. And
it is. And it's quicker.
It's quick and it's
crispy. You know, I like it burnt around the edges.
Perfect.
Yes.
It's perfect.
I love it.
So yeah, it's like every day is a mission of finding another way to cook shrimp and salmon, and And, you know, I just tried some plant-based chicken nuggets last week. They were really good.
Okay.
I tried my first plant-based burger last week.
How was it?
It was all right. It's not my... I haven't found the one that really makes me...
Have you tried a black bean burger before?
No.
It's so good.
Really? You make it at home, or you
I
just
have made it. I've gotten the black beans, cooked them, and put them in the food processor, and like bind it with like breadcrumbs and eggs.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, I had a black bean, corn, and sweet potato burger at a restaurant before, and it was amazing.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like that. It's but it's fun, you know. It's some days I get really hangry, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I just really need a Whopper with cheese.
Yeah.
From Burger King today, right now, and that's, Lord, I promise that's the only thing I'm gonna eat. That's not good for me this week. But then I'm like, you already went this far.
Gotta keep going. That's the willpower. That's the discipline, like you were saying. Motivation is like fleeting, but discipline is like what keeps you going.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, I'm trying to become more disciplined and just in general with food and everything.
Everything, you know. Yeah. And so this is a good exercise because I've had, since I've shared I went plant-based, a lot of people are like, I want to try this so bad, but it's just so hard and I can't find foods that I like that much. And I'm like, it's not easy. Like, it's not. But if you want to do something bad enough, you'll do it. And I didn't do it to lose weight. I did it to feel better about myself.
Your health.
Yeah.
So that's the best way. Because like even... They were saying, like, if you go, I was listening to this fitness podcast, and they say basically 80% of people who go on a diet, so to speak, for like vanity reasons, or superficial reasons,
stick to it.
They look, and that's what I've done. So now, like, things in my life, I'm just trying to attach meaning to it, not just like surface level.
Yeah, like depth. Like,
yeah, like you're taking care of your temple. You want to be a better mom, a better person. You want to love on yourself more.
Right.
So it'll be more sustainable for you.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. And so I just want to ask you too, like, what advice do you have for Brandon and I as we embark on this new journey of launching a company and selling women's shoes, but also just raising brand awareness? And I think this advice could probably help the listeners too if they're at a point of transition in their journey.
Ooh, one piece of advice. My brain is like, ding, 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 ding.
Hey, it could be whatever.
Oh, goodness. It's so many things.
Yeah.
Stay true to yourself and what the foundation is. Whatever the initial mission was, don't stray far away from it. And a lot of times it won't seem like it's paying off, but it has to stand firm. Whatever your initial mission is, and whatever business endeavor, whether it's this one, an extension of Finder Keeper in the future, whatever, make sure you stick to whatever your mission is, because everything around that's how you build brand awareness. Like when people can remember you for something, that's how you stick in their brains. That's gives them reason to want to tell other people about your brand. A lot of the brands and entrepreneurs that are coming up now, and they just kind of jump into something and they don't really have meaning or mission behind it, and people they might remember them for something viral, but it doesn't stick. And so like I feel like the strongest entrepreneurs and the ones that have the best brand awareness are the ones that have a mission that they constantly embed in our brains. And so I wish I had knew that. It would have saved me a whole lot of trouble to stand for something.
Yeah.
Have something that's the foundation, and don't just do stuff for the money, because you're not going to see the results monetarily wise right away.
Right.
But if you stick to a mission, it will mold everything else that you put your hands on in this brand and another brand or whatever it is that you're doing. So that would be my number one piece of advice for you and Brandon.
Thank you.
For sure.
That is so helpful. And that's what, it's been a slow journey, slow and steady for us. But I think that's why, like, we want it to be meaningful and really be able to uplift women and just help people set people free, like what we're trying to do, you know?
Yeah. So, and use your real life as the thing to propel the brand forward. I think a lot of times too, we like try to take away value from what we got going on because we don't think it's important enough.
That's
like,
what I do.
Care.
I do that all the time. I'm like, nobody cares about this.
And they do. They might not care right now, but they will. And nobody really cares about once the brand is successful. They care about what's happening right now.
The relatability. They
want to see the grind. They want to see the hard stuff. And that's the stuff that's not easy to show, but it's the stuff that does the best for your brand. It's crazy how that works. Like,
yeah, because they gonna know this stuff took almost
a long time.
Next year will be 5 years trying to figure it out.
But then it's like when it launches, it looks like it happened
overnight. But it didn't feel like
you had no idea.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's been a journey.
Just, remember, a lot of people have done it backwards. They paint the pretty picture first, and then they struggle to get people to trust them and to grow with them. And it's because they left out the little gritty stuff that, wasn't so pretty. Yeah. That's the stuff people want to see. Because ultimately, even if a person doesn't buy from you or become a customer, everybody wants to be inspired. I don't care what people tell you. Like, people want to be inspired. We thrive off of inspiration.
We do. It keeps us going.
It keeps us going. If we're having a crappy day and we see somebody that's totally irrelevant to us, but they did something that inspired us, it's going to give us just an extra... It can set you
on fire for the day. It's like, that's what I needed to get myself
just
going.
That little piece. You don't even have to know all the details. But if I could see somebody else pushing through, that's going to make me want to give it one more day.
True. I love that. Thank you for that. We will carry that with us on our journey. So,
absolutely.
That's all I have. I had such an amazing time with you, and I just want to thank you for your time. And the supporters, we just want to sign off. We'll see you on the next episode. And if you want to stay in the know with all things Finder Keeper for our upcoming launch, please follow us on IG and Facebook at Shop Finder Keeper. You can sign up for our email list on www.shopfinderkeeper.com. Thank you all again, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Yay!
We can talk all day.
I know.